Okay, we are ready to go.
All right, is everybody here, Yasmin? Yasmina?
Yes.
Okay, good. All right, well, welcome to our regular meeting, Shasta City Council, Tuesday, August 18, 2020. Call to order at 7:05. Roll call, all council members are present. Approval of the agenda, please.
Make a motion to approve as read.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Givens and a second by Councilmember Prout.
Councilmember Givens,
Aye.
Prout,
Yes.
Garcia,
Yes.
Lopez,
Yes.
and Alvarado.
Yes. All right, moving on to public comments. Is there any public comments?
Yes, there is one public comment that was received and an email that I'll read off. It is from Cameron Hunter, and it's a public comment request for the Shafter City Council meeting. To the Honorable Mayor and City Council of the City of Shafter. Firstly, I would like to thank you for your continued service to our community during these times that are ever so tumultuous. I pray for continued clarity in your thinking and encourage you to seek counsel and wisdom in your actions and your actionable decisions. Godspeed as we have yet to depart the rough waters. Secondly, I implore you to consider Redwood Drive when mapping out upcoming road resurfacing projects throughout the city. More specifically, the section between Acacia Avenue and Shafter Avenue. It is in a persistent state of degradation, to the point that it's beginning to wear residents' tires faster than normal, exhibiting signs of distress through various cracks, and makes residents subject to increased road noise from vehicles passing by. While other roads in the neighborhood have been repaired, this is one that remains to be so. It's likely I'm not properly educated and something might be in the works already for the section of road. Nevertheless, I hope this request either hastens that process or puts the speed further up in your thoughts. Thank you for your time, Cameron Hunter, 707 Acacia.
Okay. Is there any other ones?
And that is all that we have at this moment.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Public comment is closed. We're going to go ahead and move on to council announcements and reports. We'll start with Councilmember Prout.
Yes, I have two items. One of them maybe seems repetitious, but I did attend another Zoom session on AB 617. And it's interesting to note that the readings of their monitoring for air is still showing that all readings are below standard, which especially includes the PM 2.5 ozones and also the NOx and O2s. And we monitor at this time around the schools, the ag sites, there's 4 dairies at the airport, the industrial area, as well as the Mexican colony. So it's very diverse. And I think we just need to see that all of those sites, because I don't have all these maps to show you the readings, really show the same thing, because it doesn't matter where you are in those locations, it's still coming up very similar. But they'll continue to see what happens here even as fall comes in with harvest time. And then another interesting part was they invited some presenters in that gave information about people allowing or being able to put solar on their homes. And so the one that was really a standout is called Grid Alternatives. And it's has money from the state, it's state funded. And so the people that qualify for these solar panels can contact them and apply for additional help, even though their solar may be donated to them. There's structure needs that have to come along, as well as maintenance and operation of the deal. There was also a presentation from Cap K. Also, there was an executive board meeting with Valley Voices. And Valley Voices is a recently committee that I've been assigned to, representing all cities in our area. And right now they're preparing for regional priorities, and these regional priorities recognize all 8 counties, starting with Bakersfield all the way north up to Stockton. And so the executive board is now going to be ready to make presentations by Zoom to Washington, D.C. to get money as well as support for some projects that would deal with, let's see if I got it right now. The Stockton area is looking for help with grade separation because of all of their trucks as well as their logistics area. Another one is to restore highway trust fund money. Another one was money for Amtrak. Now Shafter doesn't have a stop here, but I think our people do use that passenger rail. Also, there's challenges in non-attainment areas for ozone that needs to be looked at throughout the valley. And then the last one has to do with support funding for increased water projects. So there's really quite a lot when you look at the goods movement, and we saw even now, and I'm gonna see what Rob says. I didn't bring it up today, but I think Rob maybe can help, that we should have some kind of preparation for goods movement maybe next year, because I think Shafter will be in line and be ready for some of this as we move along, because yeah, we need to get it on the radar for Shafter. So that was the two meetings that I had. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Gibbons.
None at this time. Yeah, no, I had to unmute. None at this time, sir.
All right. Councilmember Garcia.
Oh, just want to thank our whole city staff for working hard under these circumstances through COVID-19. Just all the ladies in the office and all the men out there working in the streets and the public works department. Obviously, the police department's doing a great job. And, you know, want to thank Matt Maldonado, because over the weekend, I believe I saw it. I know it was him, because I double take. They were cleaning some alleys. And later on, I ran into a young boy, and I guess they're doing that voluntary, you know, doing that just for some college stuff. And I think that was really neat, because they had a trailer loading it up. And so I just, you know, I want to thank him. He's our code compliance guy, and he's out there doing stuff with the community. And I don't know if he's getting paid. I don't know about all that, but I still want to just thank him for that, because that was the weekend. And thank those young men also that were out there working. I thought that was really neat. So a shout out to those, everyone there. Also want to thank Brittany and Sylvia for their long dedication working at the city of Shafter. It seems like, you know, they want to go on to other endeavors in their lives and do other things. And I want to thank them for all their services. And I think that's it for right now.
All right, thank you very much. Mayor Pro Tem Lopez.
I don't got too much, Gilbert. Went on vacation for almost 2 weeks to Texas and got caught up in that Hurricane Hannah. Experienced it firsthand. Very, very eye-opening experience, to say the least. To see an actual natural disaster and be a part of it. Just pray for it anywhere that we see a hurricane, because believe me, we saw it firsthand, and it's not. And that was only a Category 1. But also, I want to say for people of Shafter, stay safe during these power shutoffs. Reach out to your family members, make sure everybody's okay, no matter where you're at. I believe we have about a little bit over 700 not houses, but customers that are going to be affected today at 7 o'clock. So it should be right now. Stay safe out there. Check on your family members. Check on your pets. Check on your pets outside as well. It's pretty warm, guys. Stay safe out there.
Thank you. Thank you for that. I don't have a lot to report. I don't really have much to report, but other than just continue being safe. And again, just want to thank all the staff for all their hard work under these circumstances that we're in right now. This year has been a really crazy year. This is actually, we had a meeting earlier with Councilmember Gibbons, and we had talked about masks and trying to get something going where the community gets involved. And I think we have a good campaign that's going to launch off here soon. So, you know, the whole idea is try to curb the coronavirus and, you know, try to get back to normal. I know that's a long shot, but at least try to do our best, right? And so that's pretty much all I have to report. So we'll go ahead and move on to, give me 1 second here. Consent calendar. Everybody take a quick look at the consent calendar, and after looking at it, reviewing it, can I get a motion for approval?
So moved.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Prout, second by Mayor Pro Temp Lopez.
Councilmember Givens,
Aye.
Prout,
Yes.
Lopez,
Yes.
Garcia,
Yes.
and Alvarado.
Yes, and thank you for that. And we're going to go ahead and move on to public hearing. The first item on there is, no, apologize for this. City of Shafter Municipal Service Review and Update and of Influence Amendment number 2004.
So, Mayor and Council, this is our planning manager, Wayne Clausen, making the staff report. So, Wayne.
Honorable Mayor, members of the Shafter City Council, this project is in reference to a planned county project, and the county is proposing a South Shafter sewer trunk line sewer and lift station project south of Shafter to provide sewer service to several rural communities just south of Shafter. And probably the best way to review this project is to just jump right into the exhibits. So if you would go to Exhibit 1 in your packet, this is a map from the county's environmental document that they adopted for this project. And you'll see on there that the round black dots are referring to the locations where they're planning to put in some brand new sewer line. But the red lines on there is Shafter's existing trunk line in Shafter Avenue and an existing sewer line in Burbank Street. And the reason that the city is proposing to update its MSR and sphere of influence boundary is because to provide out of service area municipal services to an unincorporated community or area, LAFCO has to approve that service first. So the county proposed this project, then they learned that they needed to request the city to update their municipal services review document and amend the sphere of influence boundary to include these areas where the project is located so they could get approval for the project by LAFCO adopting the new service area and new sphere of influence boundary. So if you go to Exhibit 2, you'll see the same type of sewer extension information proposal and the Shafter's existing sewer trunk line in Shafter Avenue and Burbank Street. And there's an aerial showing the actual communities that will be provided this document or provided the service through Shafter updating its municipal services document and sphere of influence boundary. On Exhibit 3, it shows the Shafter's planning area boundary, existing city limits in gray, the existing sphere of influence boundary that the city currently has adopted is in yellow, and then the proposed sphere of influence boundary change is proposed in two areas. One is a sphere of influence area just west of the city or southwest of the city, and then another sphere of influence area directly south of the city. And if you go to Exhibits 4 and 5, you'll see an aerial identifying the communities again that'll be provided this new sewer service. So staff is requesting that the council adopt addendum number 2 to the addendum that the county adopted for the project and for the South Shafter Sewer Trunkline Sewer and Lift Station project, and approve the City of Shafter's 2020 Municipal Services Review Update and Sphere of Influence Amendment number 20-04 to facilitate the county's project. Municipal services documents have to be updated every 5 years. And so the timing was perfect in regards to LAFCO getting an update from the city for that particular document. And the adoption of both of those will allow the county to proceed in providing that sewer service for those rural communities to the south. Planning Commission reviewed this proposal on July 14th and is recommending your council's approval. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Being that this is a public hearing, so public hearing is open. And do we have anyone, Yasmina?
No public hearing or no members of the public wishing to speak at this time.
Okay, public hearing is closed. Is there any questions from council? Seeing none, may I get a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
That was a motion by Mayor Pro Temp Lopez, second by Councilmember Givens.
Sure.
Okay, Councilmember Givens,
Aye.
Prout,
Yes.
Lopez,
Yes.
Garcia,
Yes.
and Alvarado.
Yes. Moving on to number 2, introducing ordinance 719 for development agreement for tentative track 390.
Sir, Mayor and Council, our Public Works Director, Mike James, will make the staff report on this item coming before you. Mike?
Actually, City Manager Gonzalez, I might be intending to have Wayne take the lead on this.
Apologies, this is all Wayne. Go ahead. Wayne.
That's why I'd be glad to do it. No problem. Honorable Mayor, members of the Shafter City Council, your council approved tentative track 6398 back in 2006. This is a 5-lot subdivision. The northern lot has an existing residence, so there would be 4 vacant lots averaging about 13,000 square feet in size. Once the map is recorded, this map is located at the southwest corner of West Tulare Avenue and North Beach. One of the requirements of or conditions of the map approval is that that a city approve a development agreement for this particular tract map. The lots adjacent to the west are about 15,000 square feet in size on average. At the time that the map was proposed, we looked back at the minutes back in 2006, and there are no particular comments regarding the size of the lots or their configuration. They're fairly simple. The city is recommending that you adopt an addendum to the original negative declaration that was adopted for the tract map and approving the development agreement. If you look at the Exhibit A, it shows the location of the site with that existing residence to the north. There's nothing unusual about the tract map. It's zoned R1 and meets all the R1 zone development standards. And under the R1 zone, lots can be as small as 6,480 square feet. And as staff pointed out, the average size of the lots is just over 13,000 square feet. So staff is requesting that your council introduce for first reading and adoption by title only and waive reading ordinance number 719, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Shafter adopting the addendum to the negative declaration that was adopted for tentative tract number 6398 and adopting development agreement number 20-18 as set forth in Exhibit 1 of this ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. It's a public hearing. Public hearing is open. And Yasmina, is there anyone for this item?
No public comment at this time.
Okay, thank you. Public hearing is closed.
Mayor,
Yes.
the City Manager Gonzalez, it's been brought to my attention that 2 of our council members, Councilmember Prout and Garcia, are within 300 feet of this proposed site that is being discussed. So I'll check with the city attorney, but it may call for them to recuse themselves from this item, which we should have brought to your attention earlier.
Okay.
If the distance is 300 feet, then yeah, it constitutes a conflict of interest. And so, Yasmina, is it possible to put them in a different room while this matter is considered?
Yes, I will put them in a breakout room right now. Just one second.
Do you know who it is already?
Councilmember Prout and Councilmember Garcia.
Right.
Okay, I'll put you guys in
Marco.
the room right now.
Marco, do they need to
Yes, sir.
state the reason why they're recusing individually?
I think Gabriel is sufficient that you stated it, that they live within 300 feet, and so the FPPC regulations presume that it's a conflict of interest.
Okay.
And so it's for that reason that they would have to recuse themselves.
Okay, and I will put them in the breakout room now.
Good luck, Kathy. I hope you find your way back.
I believe they're in the room now.
Okay, so any questions from council?
Is this a different developer than what we had?
I'm sorry. Councilmember Garcia, has he joined the room? Is he still on? Councilmember Garcia, I think you need to accept the invitation.
Accept it. Can you give it to?
Yes, you
got
need to accept
okay.
it.
I didn't want to leave, but yeah, no, I'm just.
Okay, he's accepted it now, it looks like.
I'm going to ask
Go
my,
ahead, I'm sorry.
is it the same developer who's had it for, I don't know, the last time this was brought up was a couple of years ago, I think. Same developer, or is this a different developer now?
Yes, Councilmember Givens, it is the same property owner that proposed the tentative track map back in 2006, and they're getting very close to getting that final map submitted to you and approved so it can be recorded. So they need this development agreement adopted, and then they will proceed with submitting for your council's approval the final map and get it recorded and get homes built on those lots.
Does this developer agreement fall under the current code, or are they grandfathered in from previous?
No, the conditions of it are the current code, which was identical back in 2006. There's no difference.
Gotcha. No question. No other questions for me.
I got nothing.
All right, so may I get a motion, please?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Mayor Pro Temp Lopez, second by Councilmember Givens.
Councilmember Givens,
Aye.
Lopez,
Yes.
and Alvarado.
Yes.
Okay, let Kathy.
Good luck bringing her back.
Yeah, and it looks like Manuel logged off, so he said he will get back on. So we can just wait a minute if you guys don't mind.
We got nothing but time, Jasmina.
I'm sorry, I see Councilmember Prow. I think we're just waiting on Councilmember Garcia.
So that was automatic. I didn't even have to push it, huh?
It gives you a minute.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Councilmember Garcia?
He is not
No,
logged on yet.
He's not back.
Hope you didn't think the meeting was over.
He took a break.
He said he's trying. I just texted him. He said he's trying. Okay, trying.
Oh, see, and I didn't have to do anything.
Oh.
Yeah, it looks like Councilmember Garcia logged off the actual meeting instead of joining the breakout room. Okay, he's back on now.
Okay, all right, we'll go ahead.
All right, guys.
All right, so we're all good. All right, we're going to go ahead and move on to number 3 in public hearing.
Sorry, Mayor and Council, this is the one item that our Public Works Director is going to make the staff report for. So, Mike?
Sure thing. Honorable Mayor, members of the Shafter City Council, one source of CARES Act funding available to the city is valued at approximately $93,000. The source is to be treated like a community development block grant project. And in the city's case, CDBG funding is administered by the county. This past June, the council conducted a public hearing on the proposed use of the funding and ultimately adopted Resolution 2719 to authorize staff to submit a funding application on behalf of the city. This application was submitted to the county, and it specifically proposed COVID protective measures for the new Dial-A-Ride electric vans, as well as portable equipment and furnishings to use at the Betts Hall to facilitate public participation with social distancing at future council meetings. County staff reviewed the application and had issues with the Betts Hall proposal in particular. The main issues cited were there were not permanent fixtures being installed to the Betts Hall, and just a general stronger emphasis needed for COVID protection. So these concerns could impact the city's reimbursement of certain expenditures, and we understand that other sources of CARES Act funds could be used to cover some of the Betts Hall improvements. So to appease the county's concerns, staff repackaged the spending plan, which is included with tonight's staff report. It retains the Dial-A-Ride van protective measures, but replaces the Betts Hall work with protective measures that focus on the new corporation yard offices, as well as protecting Public Works employees during their normal duties. The plan assumes we'll utilize the full allocation of $93,000 and be able to absorb any overruns within our existing operational budgets. So the county directed city staff to conduct a second public hearing and adopt an updated resolution to formally approve the new funding plan and authorize a new application. So the hearing for tonight has been noticed by the city clerk, and at the close of the hearing, staff asked the council to consider the adoption of resolution 2742 to authorize the resubmittal of the new funding application to the county. And with that, we request that you open the hearing.
Thank you very much for that. This is a public hearing, so public hearing is open. Is there any public comments, Nina?
No public comment at this time.
Okay, public comment is closed. Well, council, is there any questions from council?
I have none.
Seeing none, hearing none, can I get a motion, please?
Make a motion to approve as read.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Given, second by Mayor Pro Tem Lopez.
Councilmember Prout,
Yes.
Lopez,
Yes.
Givens,
Yes.
Garcia,
Yeah.
and Alvarado.
Yes. Now we're moving on to manager's report. Number 1 on there is the first reading order amending section 2040 of the Shawty Municipal Code relating to city council regular meetings.
So, Mayor and Council, our city clerk and I are going to tag team this item, and this is an item coming back to you from council direction, in which we presented the concept of adjusting our regular city council meeting start time from 7 p.m. to 6 p.m. And so with that, Yasmina.
Sure. Good evening, Honorable Mayor and Council. Like City Manager Gonzalez mentioned, at the July 21st City Council meeting, the council directed staff to bring forward an ordinance to move the regular City Council meeting start time to 6 p.m. This ordinance, that ordinance would amend section 2.04.020 of the Shafter Municipal Code to move the meeting start time. The council also did express a preference for the Planning Commission meetings to move its start time to 6 p.m. However, the Planning Commission is established by commission resolution, their start time. As a result, the Planning Commission will have to consider such a resolution separately. If council approves the first reading of this ordinance, the council will introduce for second reading and adoption of the ordinance at the September 1st, 2020 council meeting. The ordinance will become effective 30 days after adoption. The first meeting that will take place at the new start time will be October 6th of 2020. Staff will be performing various outreach activities after adoption of the ordinance, such as postings on the city's social media outlets, information on utility bills, and ads in the local newspaper. Staff does recommend that council waive further reading, read by title only, and introduce ordinance 720. I'm available for any questions.
All right, thank you. Thank you for that. Any questions from council?
No, I move the motion.
Second.
A motion by Councilmember Prout, second by Councilmember Givens.
Councilmember Prout,
Yes.
Givens?
Yep.
Lopez,
Yes.
Garcia,
Yes.
and Alvarado.
Yes.
Thank you.
Moving on to number 2 on, thank you. Moving on to number 2 of the manager report is resolution of the City Council of the City of Shafter extending the proclamation of local emergency regarding novel coronavirus COVID-19.
For the Mayor and Council, as you recall, on March 17, 2020, you adopted an emergency a proclamation declaring a local emergency due to the COVID-19 pandemic, and authorized the city's emergency service director, the city manager, to respond accordingly to the pandemic. And so state statute requires that every 60 days you extend the declaration. And this time we're coming back. I believe this is the fourth time that we're coming back to you requesting an extension. This only pertains to the city's ability to respond to the pandemic and to continue to make us eligible for any federal funds or state funding that we may be eligible for reimbursement for responding to the COVID-19 pandemic, and nothing further. It doesn't change any of the guidelines or requirements that are currently in place from both the governor's office and the county public health department. And so at this time, we are again asking council to approve the extension of the local emergency as outlined in the attached resolution.
Thank you. Thank you for that, City Manager. Any questions from council? Seeing none, hearing none, can I get a motion?
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Lopez and second by, who's the second?
I'll
Chad.
second.
Was it Chad, Councilmember Givens?
Yep.
Okay,
Councilmember Prout,
Yes.
Givens,
Yes, ma'am.
Garcia,
Yes.
Lopez,
Yes.
and Alvarado.
yes. Moving on to number 3, ratifying Director of Emergency Service City Manager regarding temporary outdoor regulations for businesses in the city of Shafter in response to the novel coronavirus pandemic.
So, Mayor and Council, this is an example of the type of action in order to respond to the COVID-19 pandemic that we're permitted to deploy or implement under the emergency declaration. So as you know, the governor announced that Kern County was to be placed on the monitoring list because of the number of positive cases and the number of beds in hospitals in terms of the increase. And so to that extent, local businesses of personal nature, retail, and restaurants Restaurants, for example, can no longer do inside dining, personal service type businesses, retail, how to do the curbside, or like personal service, a barbershop, for example, would have to conduct business outdoors. So time was of the essence from the time the governor placed Kern County back on the list. And so we had to take immediate action. And on July 31st, I, the city manager, in my capacity as director of emergency service, issued an emergency executive order establishing temporary regulations governing the provision of outdoor personal services, outdoor display and sales areas, and supplemental outdoor dining in conjunction with existing restaurants. We then deployed a no-fee permitting process to allow business to conduct their business outdoors. And so as required per the existing statute is that the city council is required to ratify that executive order. And so therefore the matters before you this evening for council to ratify the executive order that was issued by me, the city manager, as director of emergency services on July 31st, 2020 in response to the pandemic, the COVID-19 pandemic. So we are recommending approval of resolution number 2744 so that you can ratify said order. Nothing further.
Thank you very much for that. Any questions from council?
None for me.
All right, seeing none, hearing none, can I get a motion, please?
Motion
We
to
approve. Sorry.
Okay.
We have a motion by Councilmember Prout, second by Councilmember Givens.
Councilmember Prout,
Yes.
Givens, I'm sorry, Councilmember Givens, I think you're muted.
Yes, sorry.
Lopez,
Yes.
Garcia,
Yes.
and Alvarado.
Yes. Moving on to number 4. Identify projects for transit funding applications for CARE Act and the State of Good Repair funding programs.
Sorry, Mayor and Council, this is another pot of funding under the CARES Act that cities are eligible. This particular type of funding is earmarked for transit operations. And so our Administrative Services Director, Bryce Atkins, will provide further detail of the staff report in terms of this matter. Bryce?
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and council members. This item is to seek council direction on, as City Manager Gonzalez mentioned, 2 funding requests related to transit. The first is CARES Act funding in an amount slightly over $184,000. The call for projects was released on July 17th. There is a correction to the staff report. The call for projects was after the agenda was prepared, not after the meeting was held. So sorry for that misstatement. And at the time, we were not aware of the funding source requirements or eligible uses to bring it to council earlier. The deadline for the funding was August 13th for submission. So staff submitted the request to keep access to the funding. The money can be used for either capital or operational costs. However, in looking at the requirements, the capital projects required more that could be reasonably met before the deadline for submission. We also received information from KernCog that the Transit Development Act revenues that we receive each year are expected to be diminished, since they're based on sales in this COVID-19 environment. So staff chose to apply the funding towards covering existing operational costs to help offset potential future lost revenues. Because the CARES Act funding does not expire, we selected a 2-year time frame, so we'll be able to use it to offset losses both this fiscal year and next fiscal year as well. The second funding source is the annual State of Good Repair funding. The deadline is September 1st, though we have heard from KernCog, they also are required to submit their regional application by September 1st as well, and we need to submit before they can. The funding can only be used for purchasing or maintaining either vehicles or facilities. The city's allocation is typically small, about $14,000, but every other year, KernCog shares its allocation with some of the smaller operators, and so our total amount this year is $141,000. Staff was engaged with Kern Transit for a jointly funded project to relocate the regional transit hub from Central Valley Highway and Pacific Avenue to Stringham Park at James Street and East Lurdo Highway. Moving the station provides a safer location for commuters of public transit to wait away from Central Valley Highway, and also be more convenient and safe location for pickups and drop-offs without impeding traffic. Through the joint project, Kern Transit would dedicate $50,000 to combine with ours to a total amount of $191,000. This would leverage approximately $1 of outside funding for every $3 we spend. If council agrees to on this direction, then there will be subsequent approvals needed for the from council at various phases of the project going forward. One alternative would be to use the funding instead to purchase a third electric bus. However, we are in the process of deploying 2 new electric buses currently, and future funding can be used for the bus, but this opportunity to leverage that outside funding may not come around again for a while. So at this point, staff is seeking direction from council if these funding applications and purposes are acceptable, or if council wishes to either cancel the CARES funding application or change the use of the state of good repair funding. At this point, that completes my presentation, and happy to respond to any questions or comments.
Thank you very much for that. Any questions from council?
I have
Do
a
we
couple.
have a-
Oh,
Oh,
Mike,
I'm
go
sorry.
ahead.
Do we have a time frame for the other 2 buses? Because I thought they were due this summer.
We actually just received the first bus, and I believe the second bus came in about a week ago. It's
Oh.
currently being retrofitted. We know we're also looking at putting on some COVID-19
Protection.
modifications as well to those. So it may be a little bit before we can deploy. I don't have a specific time frame on those just yet, but we can reply to council in an email of our time frame for deployment.
Very good. Thank you.
If I may, this is Public Works Director James. Our target date is October to activate those Dial-A-Ride vans. We're waiting on PG&E to complete its end of a electrical service activation for that charging station.
Good. Thank you.
Councilmember Givens, you had a question?
Yeah, so what specifically is this money paying for? Are we really talking about just the shaded area that's being moved from where it's at right now to Stringham Park?
I'll ask Public Works Director James if you could comment on that as far as the specific scope of the project.
Absolutely, Councilmember Gibbons. What you're looking at is an excerpt from a grant application that was submitted to the state for Proposition 68 park grant funds. That particular project proposed recreational enhancements and canopy shade picnic areas, but a support amenity of that project was the parking lot in an area that is currently not really being used much at all. And so the parking lot, even though that park grant application was not funded, we've tried to seek other sources of funding and partnerships for the parking lot. And so, yes, the intent is immediate intent is to relocate the regional transit station from City Hall to Stringham Park. And the county has committed to $50,000 to match the approximately $140,000 in SB1 funding to fully fund the project. And we see another benefit as, increased downtown parking capacity for special events and just everyday use. And there might be even a benefit to the Dial-A-Ride program as well.
So are we, 2 things, that cost seems extremely high for what we're asking for. And I'd love to see a budget breakdown here. And number 2, are we stating that we're going to lose Stringham Park? Albeit I understand where you're coming from. It's not as utilized, but what are we talking about here? Is there going to be anything left over of that park?
Yeah, it shows on.
We haven't lost the vision
I don't
that's
see it.
included in that exhibit, that map exhibit. So we're still pursuing recreational enhancements to not lose the park aspect of that site. But as far as the costs go, they are comparable with costs that were used to construct the parking lot at Veterans Park. We haven't done a precise breakdown, but at this time, we're tentatively confident that the combined funding sources can fully construct and design the parking lot.
And my apologies, I didn't see the map. And that's what I was sitting here looking for, was a map. I don't know why I wasn't able to find it. So the map makes a lot more sense to me.
It still kind of concerns me using that particular corner because of the traffic on Laredo Highway and the ones that turn on James. Is there
agree.
any consideration for any other place besides this one?
Well, not that I'm aware of, but as far as the parking lot goes, from my own personal assessment is it makes a lot more sense to have a parking lot there than to have any kind of open grass area next to Laredale Highway. So I think the parking lot actually provides a good safety buffer between the recreational activities that we hope to have and the traffic on Laredale Highway.
Understandable. I would be concerned of excess parking from some of the residents in that area using that as their quote unquote parking lot for themselves. And then I'd like to make sure that we have a nice landscape looped up around that facility. It is a very high visible area when you're coming through the city, and I'd hate to look at just a parking lot. So I'm hoping we have landscape plans to go around this.
We'd be happy to incorporate that into the design and share with you upon availability.
Please.
Because especially I had hoped to put our Veterans Memorial at that point, but it didn't happen.
Yeah, we need something there at that point, more than just asphalt and concrete.
Understood.
Thank you. No other questions for me, Gilbert. Gilbert, you're
Mayor
on.
Alvarado, I believe you're muted.
Sorry about that.
Been there, done that.
Councilmember Gibbons, I do see your point about others using the parking lot as residential. Right next door. Seeing the map here, I can see that happen.
Yeah, and I completely understand where you're coming from, Mr. James, because I do agree. There is a need, especially when we do events throughout the Shafter. I mean, it's hard to get parking anywhere close to downtown. So that's a nice little spot to have parking. I like what you're doing there. Gilbert, I think you and I are on the same page. I'm going to be a little fearful of somebody leaving a car there for 3 weeks. So code enforcement's going to have a lot of fun.
I only have one comment.
Go ahead, sir.
My only comment, I think this is needed. It's needed. That traffic right there by the city hall where it's at right now. I mean, it's been proven. I think it's been hit multiple times, hasn't it, in the past? So it's a lot more traffic going down Central Valley Highway than Laredale Highway. But my only concern is taking away any square footage from any park. We're already in a dire need of more space. And I know there was plans, and of no fault to anybody. This COVID-19 situation came about, but taking away from any park is a concern to me. But it is needed. But I think in the near future, something else needs to be done to accommodate more park usage somewhere else. If we're taking away from one park, let's put it let's put it to use somewhere else as well. Not just keep taking. I know it's not utilized that much either. This area usually doesn't get utilized as much as Veterans Park, Rodriguez Park, or Mantle Park. But I mean that's my only concern is keep taking just take it away from an existing park. But it is needed.
I agree with him.
Well, and that's why I asked if there was any other consideration.
Yeah, I think it's an ideal location personally. I mean, but people, the parking situation, people are going to park where they're going to park. No matter where you put it, they're going to try to park there. It's just human nature, I guess.
Mayor Pro Tem Lopez, we will be in touch with the council in the coming weeks to talk about another Prop 68 park grant funding opportunity, and there'll be park retrofits and potentially new parks to explore, and we'll be updating you shortly on that.
God willing. Thank you, Mike. Appreciate it.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay. Can I get a second, please?
Second, and I was muted. Sorry.
We have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Lopez, second by Councilmember Gibbons.
Councilmember Prout,
Well, you already know how I feel about it, but I'll vote for it.
Gibbons,
Yeah.
Lopez,
Yes.
Garcia,
Yes.
and Alvarado.
Yes, yes. Moving on to number 5. is for the city of Shafter to serve as host and approval of a proposal from the City Gate Associate LLC for task 2 and the amount of $13,634 for additional work to conduct a contract fire service review for the participating 9 cities in the current county, and approval of a reimbursement agreement with the cities of Arvin, City, California City, Delano, McFarland, Ridgecrest, Tehachapi, Taft, and Wasco. City Manager?
So, Mayor and Council, on July 7th, at the regular city council meeting, under the city manager's report of the agenda, I informed council of a recent action by the Kern County Administrator's Office of their plan to present to the Board of Supervisors and study that they had commissioned related to fire services cost recovery, which proposed to increase each of the 9 partner cities' cost for contract services for Kern County Fire. The county's proposed action changes their cost recovery methodology to a 100% model for the contract cities. And this would result in a significant increase to some of our partner cities that in the county. So for example, the range for is as low of an amount for Wasco, for example, of $540,000, all the way to Taft, who would see an increase of almost $1.8 million per year for county fire services. For Shafter, our increase would be approximately $582,000, which would be an actual increase because currently our property tax that is generated, it goes into, part of it goes into a fire fund. That fund, because of our logistics center and the property values that we have in terms of valuation, has created a surplus, which currently our general fund does not pay for those county fire services. It does pay for it directly out of the fire fund, but because we generate sufficient property tax, we actually have a surplus in that fund. The county administrator's office implementation plan would be a 7-year phase-in period. By the end of the 7-year implementation, the city of Shafter would be paying out of pocket at that point approximately $380,000 for county fire services. The county had been working on the study for the past year. It's my understanding, I wasn't here in the last year, but that study was conducted without any input from the contract cities, and the city managers only learned about it when it was already agendized, scheduled to go before the Board of Supervisors for adoption and implementation. So the city managers at that point requested an extension before the board of the item. We were granted basically a 15-day stay, if you will, in which at that point the city managers met with the county administrator office. But quite frankly, it was just a checkbox for them to be able to say that they met with us. And the following meeting, they again had it agendized for adoption and implementation. Again, the city managers came together and petitioned the Board of Supervisors for an extension. The Board of Supervisors granted the city managers group for those 9 contract cities a 90-day extension so that we can review the study and provide input in terms of the possible cost recovery alternatives. Being that the city managers realized that the county administrative officer, the CEO's office, had actually hired their outside consultant, none of the managers have the level of fire service expertise needed to conduct a review of that study. And so as a group, we conferred and we investigated. I have worked with this group, Citygate Associates from prior experience in one of my other cities. And so I mentioned that group to the city managers. The city managers as a group met with Citygate and felt that they had the necessary expertise and experience to assist us at the contract cities to review the county study. Being that we as a city managers group, we are not an official organization. We all represent our respective cities. Therefore, as a group, we cannot contract directly with a consultant. It's a common practice that you will often find whenever cities or entities collaborate and come together. There will be an agency that will serve as a host for administrative purposes when dealing with the contract. In this case, the city of Shafter was asked if we would serve as a host agency for the administration of the contract with Citygate Associates. As a city manager to the county and a partner to the other cities, I accepted for us to administer the contract. And Citygate provided a proposal to the city managers that included different tasks to conduct the fire services review. In your packet, you had the proposal. We are not contracting for all of the tasks identified in the proposal, but rather only tasks 1 and 2. The cities agreed to engage Citygate Associates for the review. And we agreed that on a pro rata share or 1/9 of the cost, we would all reimburse, they would reimburse the city of Shafter. Task 1, which is attached also to the staff report, commenced on July 13, 2020 through a letter of engagement in the amount of $9,177. At the time that we entered into this letter of engagement, the city managers group believed that this would suffice in terms of the work we would want Citygate to conduct for us. However, when we obtained the 90-day extension from the Board of Supervisors, it allowed us more time to dive more into the study. At that time, the city managers group felt that collectively we should have that additional work performed by Citygate, and therefore we proceeded with task 2 in the amount of $13,634. Task 2 in that amount of $13,634 is above the city manager's authority in terms of purchasing, and it now requires council approval per our city purchasing policy. That's the reason it's being presented before you tonight. Also, too, the cumulative amount of the agreement is now up to $22,811. As stated, the 8 partner cities will each reimburse the city of Shafter for their pro rata share of $2,534. That's basically when you do the math, it's 22,811 divided by 9. That's how we get to the 2,534. The city of Shafter is also contributing its fair share of the pro rata amount, and also included as part of approving the task for 2, included in the packet is a reimbursement agreement that I have sent to the other 8 partner cities to document each of the participating partner cities' contribution and reimbursement to the city of Shafter for the consulting work. As stated, this is a common practice often among entities when you're doing a joint project. And so this is not uncommon. And while today it is Shafter's turn, tomorrow might be one of our other cities in a similar role. At this time, I am asking council for approval of the proposal for task 2 with Citygate Associates in the amount of $13,634 and approval of the reimbursement agreement with partner cities Arvin, California City, Delano, McFarland, Ridgecrest, Tehachapi, Taft, and Wasco. The city of McFarland is also a contract city, but they're not included in the scope of work as they were non-responsive in terms of them participating in this review. That's the reason that it's only the other 8 cities and ourselves participating in that. No further comments with regards to the staff report at this time, Mayor.
Thank you very much for that. Any questions from council?
Just to clarify, did Gabriel say McFarland where he meant Maricopa?
Oh, I'm sorry. In terms of the city that's not participating?
Yes.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, I thought-
It's Maricopa that's not participating.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
Thank you for that.
Any other question? All right, hearing none. Can I get a motion, please?
I move we approve.
I'll
Second,
second. Oh, Manuel, go ahead.
it's okay.
Motion by Councilmember Proud, second by Councilmember Garcia.
Councilmember Prout,
Yes.
Lopez,
Yes.
Garcia,
Yes.
Givens,
Yes.
and Alvarado.
Yes. Now moving on to department comments and reports.
Sorry, Mike. Sorry about that. I jumped out. Just really quick, just a few items. As we all know, we've been reading and hearing the news about the PG&E rolling blackouts. Let me say that these are different from the PG&E PSPS outages that they've conducted, like for example, last year, that are related as preventive measures for wildland fires. These rolling blackouts are being directed by the Cal ISO office or department, which is the independent system operators for the state, dictating to PG&E and Southern Cal Edison in order to address the load on the electrical grids during this heat wave. And so PG&E has been communicating to our customers with as much advance notice as they can provide. For example, earlier today, we provided information to you and the community about possible outages and schedules on when they would take place. These outages are planned between the hours of 3 p.m. and 10 p.m. And they're proposed to be duration between 1 to 2, maybe 3 hours. And so the PG&E as a purveyor does not have clear idea of what sections, what grids will be taken out. They are being directed by Cal ISO. So a note to our constituents, our residents, as advised by PG&E, is be prepared. They're advising to keep your thermostats during the hours of 3 p.m. and 10 p.m. at 78 or higher to avoid using large appliances, turn off any unnecessary lights and electronics. And for those that may want to super cool your house after 10 p.m. until the morning hours at a lower temperature than 78, 72 is what they recommended, just to super cool your home so that as the day goes, it doesn't get as hot. So that's on the rolling blackouts. That's slated to last the duration of the current heat wave, which it's projected to go through Thursday and then back up over the weekend. So foreseeably for the next 5 to 7 days, these rolling blackouts will be in effect. A quick update on the COVID-19. We continue to provide you information in real time. And as you know, we are on the state monitoring list. And one of the things we started doing that our staff, Rachel in this case, has started publishing weekly to our residents and to you, just numbers specific to Shafter. So for example, as of today, we have a total of 1,015 positive cases and 319 of those cases have recovered. The week of August 8th, ending the 14th, we had a total of new cases of 142. The prior week, the week of August 8th, we had a total of 73 new cases. So just from one week to the next, you can see that our cases basically doubled. So we continue to be mindful of those numbers. It's continuing to spread. So again, continue to practice social distancing, the wearing of face masks, as uncomfortable as it may be, but it's proven by medical advisors that helps reduce the spread of COVID-19. Earlier this afternoon, the Education Partnership Ad Hoc Committee, comprised of Councilmember Givens and Mayor Alvarado, had a meeting with our educational partners, Richland School District, Grimway, the current high school, as well as our recreation district. And it was to talk about face masks, after school programs, childcare services, pre-K education opportunities, and then the city provided an update on the library and the proposed Wi-Fi internet project. And then the wearing of face mask enforcement. At the end, after productive dialogue, the group agreed to work collectively in putting together a campaign, education campaign for our community comprised of those groups, the high school, the Richland School District, the Recreation District, Grimway, and the city, and do a unified campaign to our community regarding the wearing of face masks in and around town to help stop the spread of COVID-19. So more to follow on that. And then the last item, for any of you that might be interested, the League of California Cities will be having their annual conference this year because of COVID. It will be a virtual conference scheduled for October 7th to the 9th. And so if any of you are interested, please let our city clerk know so that we can make arrangements to pre-register you, which the deadline is October 1st. All the sessions then will be virtual, and you'll have access to all of those that you can attend basically at the comfort of your home. Also, too, if any of you do plan to attend the virtual conference, we'd like to know, because we then need to designate one of you that may be attending as our voting representative on behalf of the city when they take vote on League of City resolutions during the conference. And with that concludes my report, Mayor and Council.
All right, thank you. Any other departments?
Yeah, our Public Works Director has an update on a few capital projects that are under construction. So Mike.
Absolutely. Honorable Mayor, members of the Shafter City Council, did have a couple of projects and one program to update you on. With respect to water conservation, for the past month of July, the city produced 15% less water than the same month during the base comparison year of 2013. We typically see our largest conservation during the summer months, but the economic fallout of COVID might be contributing to these water use reductions. For James Street, we're planning to wrap up the concrete work this week, and then we'll transition into the pavement reconstruction phase, which will get pretty messy and will require temporary road closures to ensure an efficient and safe project site. City staff and contract crews will be contacting the impacted businesses directly so they know what's involved and how to prepare. And we're still planning to have that project complete by next month. And then finally, for Zucker Road, with road crews right now, are planning to perform pavement sealing and reconstruction work between Lerdo Highway and 7th Standard Road. The work will last a few weeks, and the roadway will be closed to through traffic starting next week. Nearby businesses and industries have been notified and will remain open, but commuter traffic is being advised to avoid the area if at all possible. And I believe there are, if there's not already, though, there is efforts being made to post message boards for warning commuters of the impacts to Zucker Road, and detour routes will be made available via our social media outlets. And with that, that concludes the comments by Public Works.
I have a question.
Sure.
And the question is, how long will it be? How long will it take for this sealing? Is it for the whole week?
Well, what we have two phases, and the city crews were at 7th Standard Road and portions of Zucker Road already, and they've since pulled back. And so what's going on right now is the Granite Construction, which was awarded the reconstruct project between the Bryant Kern Canal and the Callaway Canal, is currently setting up traffic control measures right now, and they're planning to commence the reconstruction starting Monday. And we believe they'll be out there for 2 to 3 weeks to perform that reconstruction work. And there really isn't a viable way of performing the work without closing the road along that segment there. So we have developed a detour plan. There will be signage, and we'll make the public aware of the detour routes before construction commences.
Now that's on 7th Standard?
No, that's the Zucker Road reconstruct. The pavement sealing work that you had asked about, the city did commence one phase of that along 7th Standard Road and a portion of Zucker Road, but we've since pulled back to allow Granite Construction to focus on their project.
Okay, I got you now.
And then once Granite is done with the reconstruction work, then city crews will resume the pavement sealing work along other stretches of Zucker Road, but that should not require a full closure.
Okay,
Hey, Mike, I got a question.
Sure.
That gentleman during public comments that asked about Redwood and Acacia, to see if there's any plans on resurfacing or repaving of that area. Is there any way you can find something out about that and just get back to that gentleman, send him an email or something?
yeah, because didn't he already approach us at another meeting?
I'm not even sure about that.
Yeah. I
Mayor
remember
Pro
him.
Tem I'm sorry, Mayor Pro Tem Lopez, I did get the information when the public testimony was read. We have a scheduled meeting with the engineers next week to go over the upcoming design and construction projects for the next few months. And I will add that to the agenda and see where that ranks amongst our pavement project priorities. But we will follow up with the resident.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
Yeah, and Mike, I just want to add that, the gentleman, Cameron Hunter, he is, he has a point, but his road is pretty bad there. And while you're out there maybe assessing it, maybe you can further look at, keep going down on Acacia all the way to right there. I think that street is Oleander, that other street, because both of the sites, only half of Oleander and half of Acacia needs it pretty bad. And then the comment he made was his corner house to Shafter Avenue is bad on Redwood. So, I mean, I'm just saying, if you want to go another block or two, there's some, I've noticed, because I ride my bike a lot through there, and some of them have made comments to me, but they do have a point where I think it needs to be like a cap or something. But anyway, I do want to tell you, Michael James, you're doing a great job. And downtown James, I know right now it looks messy, but I know it's going to look really good. And I want to thank you for your hard work.
Well, thank you for the comment, and we'll follow up on the other streets that you suggested.
All right. Is there any other department, City Manager Gonzalez?
No further reports, Mayor.
Okay. All right. Now we do have recess in a closed session. The first item is threat to public service. Number 2 is conference with labor negotiators. So can I get a motion to go into recess?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
We have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Lopez, second by Councilor Givens. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right.
Okay, I will put you in the breakout room. Just one moment. And please accept the invitation to join the breakout room.
Will do.
Daniel.
Did you hear me, Carol, when I said go home?
Oh, what was that?
Did you hear me when I told you to go home?
Oh, no, I didn't hear. I think I had just left. I know
Yeah,
I'm ready to go home already.
I think you need to.
And hi, it looks like we're just waiting on Kathy and Marco.
Hey, Gilbert, you're still muted, by the way.
Thank
There
you.
you go.
Thank you. All right, everybody in?
I think everybody's back.
All right. City Attorney Martinez, would you please report out?
Thank you, Mayor. The City Council recessed into closed session. The items are listed on the last page of tonight's regular meeting agenda. There were 2 items on tonight's closed session agenda. There was threat to public services concerning impacts to public facilities and services, and there was also a conference with labor negotiators concerning the organization that's listed on the agenda, the Shafter Corrections Officers Association. With respect to both those items, the City Council heard a presentation from its staff regarding the items, and there is no reportable action.
Thank you very much for that. Can I get a motion to adjourn, please?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Given, second by Mayor Pro Temp Lopez. All in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned. You guys all have a good night. Take care.
Good night, guys.
Good night.